Hello and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to have a look at some Minidisc lens cleaners. This one was one that I was given as part of a bundle of discs. This I bought 6 discs plus this from eBay, and I got this one probably from eBay as well, but I can't remember when. But this one's not working, so maybe I'm going to have a go at fixing that later on. So we've got a player there which will just help me demonstrate how these things work. So let's start with these two Ross Minidisc lens cleaners. You can see that they've got a similar design, but they're different in the fact that this one doesn't have a shutter on it on the front, and this one does. And on the back, they both have a shutter. So let's go back to basics in case there's anybody here who doesn't know how these things work. This is a recordable Minidisc, and the recorder and the player can access the Minidisc on both sides. You can see just inside here there's a tiny white metal catch. When you slide this into the player, a little finger slides into this gap here and pushes that catch aside, and that releases this. So I think that's what we call a shutter, and it's not spring loaded, so it opens it on the way in and it closes it on the way out. And a Minidisc is read from the bottom with a laser. So a laser starts on the inside, reads the data, and the tracks work outwards. Right, I will have edited out a lot of footage I just shot there because I got far too in depth in how Minidisc players and recorders really work. Suffice it to say that this part of the disc is only used for recording. This part of the disc is used for recording and playback. In the playback part, the laser shines on the bottom of the disc, it bounces off that and it reads the data from that. When you're writing to a Minidisc, when you're burning a Minidisc, you're not actually burning anything, it's done by magnetics, believe it or not. But a laser heats up the disc, and then a write head, similar to a magnetic write head that you would have got in a cassette player, writes the data magnetically there, and then when it's played back it's read optically from there. That's why it's called magneto-optical format. So all of that will become clear in a minute, because we're going to have a look in here. I'm going to zoom in. Unfortunately the focus is going to zoom in and out, but this little part down here is the laser assembly with the laser lens at the back there, and in the top corresponding to that, which is now out of focus, that black bit you can see just there, I think it's the black bit, that's the recording head, and that's magnetic. And if you're old enough to remember cassette players, especially cassette players like this, then you'll know we used to use cleaning tapes. So there is the read and write head for a magnetic cassette player, just in there. And you can clean those off with cotton buds and IPA, but back in the day the most convenient thing to do would be to use a head cleaning tape, which is a slightly abrasive tape, and it travels through the machine like this, rubbing any dirt and muck off of the heads. Now essentially this magnetic recording head in here is very similar in practical terms to the record head that is in your Minidisc recorder. So you could be forgiven for wondering why this bloke is boring you about cassette players and stuff, but it's relevant for this. These two Ross Minidisc lens cleaners are different. One doesn't have a shutter on the front, it only has a shutter on the bottom, and the other one has a shutter both sides. And the reason for that is this one is designed to only clean players. The player has to have the laser on the bottom, and this cleans the laser. Whereas recorders, not only do they have a laser on the bottom, they have a magnetic record head on the top. And when we open this one up, you can see that we've got a traditional sort of laser at the bottom there, sorry, a traditional sort of disc at the bottom, and then a white part at the top which looks very similar and is actually matte, slightly rough, and it matches the cassette head cleaner I was just looking at. So The video I shot on this one was about half an hour long, and it goes into depth on how it works, but I'm going to give you the basics now. I'm just going to pull this shutter down here, and you see there, luckily it's right in view. This Minidisc lens cleaner, this is only for cleaning the lens, you can see there has a tiny little brush on it. And what it does is it goes through track 1, and then it gets to track 2, so it says in track 1, skip to track 3. And what you do is, in the process of skipping from track 1, which is about here, to track 3, which is all the way over here, the laser head moves past this brush quite quickly, but the brush then brushes anything off, any debris like hairs off of the laser lens. So where quite often you'll be told to use a cotton bud and some IPA, isopropyl alcohol, to clean the lens, that's not what a lens cleaner does. A lens cleaner only dusts the lens. And like I say, I've never solved a problem on a Minidisc player by cleaning the laser lens with IPA. So on this one it's going to be exactly the same. On the bottom, you see the brush is just there actually, but if you want to spin that around, you just do that. Zoom out a little bit. As you do that, it gradually moves around, but trust me, that brush is in there and it spins round, and it's more or less the same place as the brush on this one. But this one also has the benefit of, when you press record on this one, the record head comes down close to the surface. It must actually touch the surface, and this abrasive, slightly rough, it's not rough, but it feels like a piece of paper. So this part will then clean off the magnetic right head that is in a Minidisc recorder. Hope you don't mind, but it's a lot of hassle for me to set up and do some video captures of this, so I'm just going to record the screen on my laptop. So what I've done is I've got this Sony MZ-N710, and I'm going to put the Minidisc in it, and I'm using the excellent Web Minidisc Pro software, which works on Chrome. And when you connect it all up with a USB cable, a mini USB cable, you can press connect on there, and then select the NetMD Walkman. You can't quite see the box, but never mind. And this is the track listing on this disc. So the first track is, so don't forget, this only cleans players. It will only clean the lens on players and the lens on Minidisc recorders. The other one is the one that cleans the lens on Minidisc, cleans the magnetic right head on Minidisc recorders. So this will only clean the laser in this other disc. So basically you press play on here and it takes you through a short first track here, and it says, it gives you audio cues on what to do, and it says skip through to track 3, and it actually skips past this 60 minutes, should I say, 1 hour track here. It skips straight past that and goes to track 3 where it says cleaning is over. But in the process of skipping through this 1 hour long track, in fact about 9 minutes into the track, the brush on the Minidisc lens cleaner brushes over the laser in the player or the recorder. So let's have a look at see what's on the other disc. So this is the one with the shutter on both sides. So it's got the slightly abrasive material on the top side and the brush on the bottom side for cleaning the lens. Okay, so that's been recognised, and then we connect again on here, connect to a NetMD Walkman, and it will tell us our tracks. Right, so there's only 2 tracks on this one, 1 minute and 8 seconds on this one, and 18 minutes on this one, and it says pick up lens cleaning is over. Please press the stop button. So let me get a speaker and we'll listen to see what happens. Right, so I've detached it from the laptop now because we can use this screen here to see what track we're on and see what information it's given us. So we'll put in the second disc in now, and then we'll press play. It might be a bit loud.
The cleaning of the pickup lens is complete. If you wish to clean the head, please press the stop button, then press the record button. After 10 seconds, the head cleaning process will be completed. Press the stop button at this time. Remove the cleaning disc and store it in its case.
So that's quite interesting. So basically it's telling you to try to record to the disc. Now I've often wondered, and I'll come back onto this when we look at this disc, because this one's not working, it's broken. So basically it said press the stop button and then press the record button. So I'm going to do that. Press stopped, slide it into record. It thinks it's got a line in coming in, but that's okay. And it said after 10 seconds press stop. It's recording on track 3 and talk edit. So I wonder now if it's going to give us 3 tracks. Take it out and put it back in again. Three tracks. Sorry about the background noise, there was a really noisy lorry went past. So we've got 3 tracks. Let's hook it back up to the computer and see what's been going on. Okay, so just connecting that up there. Press connect. There we go, so that's connected now. Yeah, look, so it has actually recorded another track to it. So either no one had ever used this disc before I got it second hand, before I got it used, or whoever used it had erased any recordings they've made. So it does actually record onto that. That's quite interesting. Another issue is this player records to the end of the tracks as they're listed. I've got another recorder, not player, recorder, and if you don't go to the end first, it will record at the beginning and erase one of the tracks. I think that's how it works. That's my MZR35, so I might have to experiment with this. But I think if you've got one of these discs, it would be a good idea to get to the end of the tracks first before you do your record head cleaning. So there's an end button there, so you click on that, and then when you slide on to record, it records at the end rather than wherever it got to playing on the disc. So that's very interesting. So that's the record and playback cleaning on that disc. So just to clarify, the first part of the cleaning was just the lens using the brush on the back of the disc. And then when I press record, the record head, I think, actually moves down slightly onto the surface and was just brushed for 10 to 13 seconds on the slightly rough, or it feels like paper on the inside, the paper side of that disc, just to clean off anything that might have got on the record head. I wonder if that's an issue. I think more likely the record heads get cleaned with IPA and a cotton bud and get broken. Okay, let's move on to this one. This one here is an unbranded Minidisc lens head cleaner. There's no branding on it. It does look like a few other discs I've had, but the discs I've had with this type of pattern on them were produced by a original equipment manufacturer and then branded as different discs, branded with a different company's name on it. So let's pop this one in, because I think this one's completely blank. Yeah, blank disc. So what I suspect has happened here is this disc possibly had the same recordings on it as this one, and then someone's realised that in the process of using it, they've actually recorded an extra track on it, and they've tried to delete the track that they've recorded, but deleted all of the tracks, so now it has no instructions on there at all. So I think what I'll do is just take it out and have a look and make sure it has got a brush on the back, make sure it's similar to the other one. Just going to zoom out a little bit here. There we go. Oh look, that one's got a pink surface on it, which does feel, oh, that one feels quite rough. That's more like, let me think what that's like. That's like, God, there was a pink substance from my childhood that you painted on wet and it dried out. I can't remember what it was for. Okay, so on the back we should have, there we go, you can probably see just in there is the brush. So let me see if I can spin that round. Where's it gone? I've lost track. It's around there. Might be a second. Okay, so there you can see the brush. It's quite a big brush actually on that one. That's the brush. And it looks like it's been used because there's a little bit of dust around it. Dust, or the brush itself is degrading. So let's have a look and compare that with the brush location on this Ross one here. Okay, it's pretty close. How close are they then? Let's have a look. Not too far away. Hello, it's me from the future. You've been watching a video up to here so far. I've actually shot this part of the video and it's quite nerdy and technical. So if you don't want to watch that, you can stop watching now. I'm currently here and I'm going to insert this bit into here. So if you want to watch the nerdy and technical stuff, you can carry on watching. If not, stop now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. So the question is, if I plug this disc into a player and this disc into a recorder and play from this disc and record it onto this disc, will I have two fully functioning discs? The thing that worries me is when you're recording on these, the laser heats up this side of the disc, and if I'm recording the contents of this disc onto this one, that laser is going to actually be, starting from the inside, it's going to move from the table of contents, which is there, and track 1, which is right there. It's going to move past this this brush, and that laser runs at 200 degrees or thereabouts, which is the Curie point for writing a disc. So let me have a think about that. Okay, this is what I've got to think about. When you burn data onto a blank disc, the inside track of the disc is the table of contents, and that basically is like an index in a book. It says there's this many tracks, or if you like chapters, on the disc, and each one is entitled with this title, and it also gives the position on the disc. So if I burnt music on this disc, it might be a 74-minute disc, for example, what would happen is it would start recording on the inside. It would record all the way past the brush, because most discs don't have a brush. It would record all the way across the surface of the disc until it got to the end and ran out of space. Then it would come back to the first part of the disc and write all the data about what is stored on that disc. So if I'm going to copy these tracks over to these tracks, it's going to start at the beginning and it's going to do track 1, and then track 2, or it's going to do track 1, which probably takes it into here. And as it's burning, that laser heats up the surface of the disc, I think to 200 degrees Celsius, and that is going to burn the brush. Imagine this was a normal disc, just a normal disc. If you say burnt 10 different tracks on here, each one would be roughly the same width, and let's say they're numbered 1 to 10, and then it puts the table of contents, whatever contents there is on the disc at the start of that. But if I didn't like track 2, I could move track 2 to the end of the disc, but I'm not actually moving it to the end of the disc. I'm just telling the disc, make your index, your table of contents, show that track 2 is now track 10. Track 2 will still be just about here on the disc. But what it will do is it will read track 1 and then skip the data where track 2 is and play the third track, if you like, which is now number 2 on the display. Let me see if I can figure out a better way of explaining that. Okay, let's look at it a different way. This is just a normal standard disc. The first part of the disc is the table of contents, like your contents in a book. It tells you what page, it tells you what each chapter is and what page each chapter starts on. So imagine we recorded 2 tracks on here, track A and track B. Say track A took up half of the disc and then track B took up the other half. So track A is near the centre, which is the start of the disc, and track B is near the end. If I decided that I didn't like track A very much and I'd rather hear track B played first, I could tell a recorder to change the table of contents. And the table of contents will now say track B is at the beginning and track A is at the end. But it hasn't actually moved track A to the end. It's just changed the contents, the table of contents. So now it says the first track to play is going to be track B. It will skip over to track B and play track B there. Then it will skip to track A and play track A there. It's just the table of contents that we've changed. So coming back to this, I've got to have a think about this. So what I'm thinking of doing is trying to figure out a way that I can record 2 tracks. One track here before it gets to the brush and one track after it gets to the brush, and call them track 1 and track 2. So what will happen is I'll record track 1 to here, but it won't burn the brush, and I'll record track 2 starting there going over there. So I'm not actually trying to record over the part where the brush is, because I think it's 200 degrees Celsius. It's going to burn the brush, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. If I had any way of editing the table of contents, then I could say track 1 starts here and track 2 starts there, and track 3, is not used or something like that. But that's the problem I've got. So to make this into a working Minidisc recorder cleaner, I've got to try and figure out how to get data on this disc without burning that brush. Time for a walk, I think. Right, I'm back from a walk. I've had coffee and chocolate, the food of the nerd, and I've given it some thought and I've figured out how I might be able to do this, although I've never done it. So if you want a chance to think about how you would do it before you hear my solution, then stop the video now and come back in a minute. Okay, so this is what I think how it could be solved, but I've not actually done any of this before, but I just think theoretically what I'd need to do is write a table of contents on track 0. I assume it's track 0 of the disc. I don't know how the data is laid out on a disc. I can only surmise it from the knowledge I have of how CDs and floppy disks and hard disks are written. But track 0, I guess, or the table of contents goes at the beginning of the disc there on the, as we're looking at it, on the right hand side of the disc, the inside. We need to write a fake table of contents to say track 1 goes to there, is that long, and then as the track title we'd say skip to track 3 to clean the laser lens. And then track 2, we don't have to actually write track 2, so it's not going to burn out the brush. But track 2 would start there and end some way past the brush, and that will be track 3. So track 3, the track title would be laser cleaning complete, and then maybe the end of that track title, or the beginning of track title 4 would be to clean the right head, record a 10-second track after track 4, something like that. And then so the first 4 tracks would be over the brush, but you don't need to track titles. You wouldn't need to actually burn any music or any audio to it. So you just do a fake table of contents. I think you might be able to do it on the Web Minidisc Pro software, but I've not looked into it. I mean, to be honest with you, I've got these two anyway, and I've never actually cleaned a write head on a Minidisc. Maybe I might in the future, but I've got the two anyway, so I don't really need to fix this one. But it's just one of those theoretical thought experiments that I like to do from time to time. So how would you do it? Leave some comments, obviously. Leave comments in the comment section to let me know if you've got a better solution than that. So thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed the nerdy bit at the end. Thanks a lot. See you in the next video.